Gotham City is in disarray after the Riddler's attack, leaving a power vacuum in the poorest neighborhoods. Alberto Falcone takes over his father's empire, but Penguin emerges as a wild card. At the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin grabs stolen goods and presents them to Alberto as a peace offering. However, tension builds when Alberto taunts Penguin about his past, leading to his murder. Realizing the severity of his actions, Penguin disposes of the body with the help of Victor Aguilar, a young thief he sees potential in. While searching through Alberto's phone, Penguin discovers a shipment of drugs scheduled to arrive in Gotham and plans to seize it for himself. To cover his tracks, he arranges an alibi with a local prostitute named Eve. The next day, despite concerns about rival gangs and shifting operations, Penguin holds leverage over the other crime families with Alberto's shipment. Sophia Falcone, recently released from Arkham, becomes suspicious of her brother's disappearance and keeps a close watch on Penguin. Sophia meets with Penguin, subtly praising his ambitions, but remaining wary of his intentions. Meanwhile, Penguin visits his mother, confesses his involvement in Alberto's death, and she persuades him to stay in Gotham rather than flee. Seeking to further his control, Penguin approaches Sal Maroni, offering Alberto's ring as a sign of allegiance, and hopes to switch sides, planning to seize control of Gotham's underworld. Sophia catches on to Penguin's schemes and confronts him, torturing him after killing one of the boys involved in a previous car theft incident. Meanwhile, Victor orchestrates a bold move by driving a car with Alberto's mutilated body to the Falcone mansion, leaving a message of payback. This, coupled with Penguin's alliance with Maroni, positions him to take over Gotham's crime scene, with Victor by his side. Sophia finds herself walking through the dark hallways of Arkham Asylum to meet her brother, Alberto. She's excited to see him, but quickly notices his missing pinky finger. Before she can react, Alberto is shot by an unseen figure, leaving her in shock. It's soon revealed that this is just a nightmare Sophia is having during a session with her psychiatrist, Dr. Julian Rush. Though Julian tries to calm her down, reminding her she's no longer in Arkham, Sophia insists she's not safe, even at home. Meanwhile, Oz visits Salvatore Maroni at Blackgate Prison, where Maroni accuses him of pushing him to take the blame for Alberto's murder. Oz brushes off the accusation and explains that the Falcones are distracted, making it a prime time for the Maronis to strike. Nadia, Maroni's wife, believes Oz can be controlled, so Sal accepts his offer to hijack a supply shipment. However, during the attack, things go wrong, and Oz narrowly escapes while the Maronis take the goods as promised. Back at the Falcone estate, tension rises as Sophia interrupts a heated argument between Johnny Vitti and Oz. Sophia suggests there's a mole in the family, feeding information to the Maronis, though Vitti dismisses her. Luca Falcone, the new family head, agrees with Sophia, but insists on handling the situation his way. Oz, eavesdropping on the conversation, offers Sophia his help in finding the mole, but she declines, distrusting him. As the story unfolds, the Falcones continue to underestimate Oz, even as he manipulates those around him. Sophia, the most cunning of the Falcones, senses something is amiss, but struggles to convince her family. The Falcones are left vulnerable, with both Carmine and Alberto gone, while Oz positions himself closer to power. In a final twist, Sophia approaches Oz with a proposition to take over the family business, and he agrees to join her, setting the stage for a deadly partnership. Victor's flashback opens the story, showing the devastation from the dam explosion and his helplessness as his family dies, thanks to Riddler's plan. In the present, Oz is wary of Sophia's intentions and aware that betrayal is imminent. He decides to keep Victor close, having him drive for him and Sophia, which offers a way to mend their rocky partnership. Oz teaches Victor about self-worth, offering him a good salary, but Sophia senses a problem and decides Victor won't accompany them. With Sophia and Oz off to meet Trey Bloom, a chemist working on a rare psychoactive fungus called Bliss. They discuss how this new drug could revolutionize the market by controlling users. Sophia's secret drug plan isn't shared with her family, who want her to leave Gotham and avoid conflict. She's resistant, preferring to fight. Meanwhile, Victor reconnects with Graciela, an old friend, who wants him to leave Gotham with her. He considers it, but knows Oz won't like it, as Oz and Sophia attempt to broker a deal with the Triad using Bliss. Victor struggles with his trauma from the floods, hallucinating while trying to fulfill his role in the operation. Oz notices Victor's internal conflict and surprisingly offers him an out, saying he stayed because he craved more in life, more than what his father had. Victor tries to leave with Graciela, but hesitates, watching her depart without him. Meanwhile, Oz and Sophia are cornered by Nadia Maroni and her goons. Victor swoops in, just like earlier in the season, rescuing Oz while Sophia is left behind. As they flee, Oz declares that they're both fully entrenched in this dangerous world now, sealing their fate. Sophia and Oz find themselves in a dangerous situation when Nadia blindsides them in an alleyway. Nadia, furious about Oz's betrayal, reveals he killed Alberto, which devastates Sophia. While Oz tries to talk his way out, Sophia's heartbreak and fury are clear. She calls Dr. Julian Rush for help, but blames Oz for their predicament. Through flashbacks, we learn more about Sophia's deep ties to Oz and her troubled past. She's haunted by her mother's death, especially after discovering from a reporter, Summer Gleason, that many women, including her mother, were said to have committed suicide in suspicious circumstances. Sophia is determined to uncover the truth and meets with Summer to investigate. They discover strangulation marks that were missed by police, leading Sophia to believe there's more to these deaths. But as she digs deeper, her own family starts to unravel. Carmine, Sophia's father, intended for her to take over the family, but is enraged when Penguin exposes her secret meeting with Summer. Her investigation undermines her position in the family, and soon Sophia is framed for murder and sent to Arkham. There, she's labeled Hangman and subjected to psychological abuse, including electroshock therapy, by Dr. Ventress and Dr. Rush. During her time in prison, she befriends her cellmate Magpie, but later beats her senseless after reaching her breaking point. 6 months later, Sophia realizes that she may never leave Arkham as she's deemed unfit for trial. Back in the present, Dr. Rush reappears, offering Sophia a second chance. She eventually agrees and makes a bold return to Luca's family dinner, announcing her independence from the family. That night, Sophia takes drastic action, poisoning everyone in the house except a child named Gia and Johnny. The next morning, she confronts Johnny, signaling that a new chapter is about to unfold. Oz kicks off by burning his car, signaling the end of an era and brushing off Sophia's threats, though we know by now that's a mistake. Confident about their new drug, Bliss, Oz and Tyson prepare to make a power play by targeting Taj Marone, Sal's heir. Oz's plan is to trade Raj for control of the Marone family using Bliss as leverage. However, Sal and Nadia have no intention of honoring the deal and plan an ambush. But Oz, always one step ahead, ensures Sal is taken out before the betrayal. Meanwhile, news of the Falcone family massacre hits the media. Police Chief Bach visits Sophia to investigate, but she manipulates the situation, framing Johnny Vitti as the murderer. Bach, however, is crooked, and Sophia knows he's not to be trusted, although she uses him to her advantage. Johnny, meanwhile, is tied up in Sophia's basement. He reveals a heartbreaking truth. Sophia's mother didn't commit suicide, but was killed by Carmine because she wanted to leave him. Johnny offers to be Sophia's underboss in honor of her mother's memory, and surprisingly, it works. Even Dr. Julian Rush joins her side. Sophia, determined to lead her new family, makes it clear that she's the boss now, forbidding her father's name from being spoken. When Johnny questions her authority, she brutally kills him, sealing her leadership with a promise of wealth for those who follow her. As Oz prepares for his confrontation with the Marones, he instructs Victor to protect his mother. That night, Carmine is stabbed in prison, and Oz faces Nadia and Raj in an exchange. Knowing it's a setup, Oz sets them ablaze, using the oil-covered Raj as fuel. However, most of the bliss is ruined by sprinklers, leaving them with only 2 buckets of the product. After the fire, Sal escapes from jail and vows revenge on Oz. Meanwhile, Victor relocates Oz's mother to safety, but they're spotted by a dangerous figure named Squid. Sophia meets with Sal, proposing an alliance between the Marone and Gigante families to take down Oz and rule the city together. In a poignant moment, Oz reflects on his past, visiting the tunnels beneath the city where he once hid with his brothers. It's here, in the damp, shadowy depths, that he plans to create a new batch of bliss and reclaim his power. Oz's empire is growing as he expands the distribution of bliss throughout Gotham, aiming to take it international. With the Falcones and Marones out of the picture, Oz is confident, but his partner Victor has doubts, fearing they are being followed. Despite this, Oz dismisses his concerns, focusing on their rise to power. Meanwhile, Sophia continues manipulating Dr. Julian, while she and Sal scheme to counter Oz's growing influence. They realize Oz may be aligning with the Triads, which could solidify his power. To combat this, Sophia and Sal plan to send a message to Oz by hitting him where it hurts. Oz, aware of potential threats, tries to keep the peace with the Triads by giving bliss away for free, hoping to create demand. Victor encounters Squid, who pressures him into involving him in their operation. Feeling cornered, Victor eventually kills Squid in a moment of desperation. At the same time, Sophia and Sal search Oz's place for leverage, finding personal items to exploit. Sophia visits Eve, a woman close to Oz, and attempts to manipulate her to learn more about his weaknesses. Instead of killing Eve, Sophia decides to spare her, gaining crucial information about Crown Point, a location tied to Oz. As Oz prepares for a critical meeting with the Triad and other gangs, he holds a gold summit, promoting unity among Gotham's criminal underworld. He suggests working together despite their differences, likening it to politicians making backroom deals. The gathering seems to go well, and they share drinks in hopes of a prosperous future. However, back at Crown Point, Sophia is lurking, preparing to enact her revenge as tensions between her and Oz continue to build, setting the stage for an inevitable showdown. Flashback reveal a young Oswald as a lonely, neglected child, always overshadowed by his brothers Benny and Jack. Oz's first exposure to the criminal world comes when Rex, a Gotham bigwig, gives Jack $50 for their mother. Despite warnings from Jack about staying out of criminal activities, Oz grows fascinated by the lifestyle, even locking his brothers in the sewers during a game of hide-and-seek, ensuring that they drown, so he can have his mother all to himself. This brutal act foreshadows Oz's future ruthlessness. In the present, Oz returns home to find Victor passed out and his mother missing. Sal arrives, and in a violent confrontation, he beats Oz with a golf club. However, Sal is unable to kill him due to Sophia's orders, and the scene shifts to Frances, Oz's mother, who is at Sophia's mansion. Despite her captivity, Frances remains defiant, making sharp remarks to Sophia, until Sophia hits a nerve by mentioning Benny and Jack, which drives Frances into a rage. This emotional outburst reveals her vulnerability. Meanwhile, Sophia deals with new problems involving Gia, who might involve the police due to her knowledge of the family's dark secrets. As Sophia grapples with these challenges, Oz takes control, raiding a warehouse and provoking Sal into a heart attack. After Sal's death, Oz announces to his underlings that they must prepare for a storm. In a tense standoff, Sophia offers Oz a deal, tempting him with power in exchange for his mother's release. However, she sets a trap by rigging a car with explosives. When Oz realizes the danger, he retreats to the place where his brothers died, only to be caught in a massive explosion that devastates the area. Though he survives, Oz is knocked out by one of Sophia's goons, leaving his fate uncertain as chaos erupts in Eastside. In flashbacks, we see Frances haunted by the deaths of her sons, Benny and Jack, which Oz is responsible for. She expresses her anger to Rex, calling Oz the devil in the house. Rex suggests Oz could be molded into something great or discarded. This leads to a scene at a club where Oz vows to prove himself to his mother, asking her not to give up on him. In the present, after the explosion, Victor finds Oz barely alive, captured by Sophia, with Frances also tied up. Sophia tortures Frances, and when Oz feigns ignorance, Frances exposes him as the one responsible for the murders. In a moment of intense emotion, Francis stabs Oz, but he manages to free himself, grab a gun, and escape with her to the hospital. Victor, despite his growing faith in Oz, continues to support him, even as the Triads and other gang leaders begin to shift allegiances toward Sophia. Sophia plans to leave Gotham, but leaves her territories vulnerable, triggering a manhunt for Oz. Oz, sensing the impending danger, decides to play a different game, convincing a councilman to back him in exchange for his cooperation. Sophia, in retaliation, burns her mansion down, symbolically rejecting her family's legacy. However, in a twist, Oz betrays Sophia by orchestrating a trap that leads to the death of her men and Feng Zhao. He confronts Sophia, claiming victory, and sends her back to Arkham, celebrating his power. Meanwhile, Frances suffers a stroke, leaving her in a vegetative state. This marks a tragic moment for Oz, who, desperate for her approval, breaks down in tears. Victor, having been close to Oz, calls him family, but Oz, fearing weakness, kills him. As Sophia processes a letter revealing Selina Kyle is her half-sister, Oz stands victorious, now a major player in Gotham. Yet his triumph feels hollow as he lives in a penthouse with his mum in a state of paralysis, using Eve to impersonate her. As the bat signal flickers in the sky, Oz's reign seems poised for collapse.